everybody, welcome back. I know it's been a while, but with the state of things lately, well, I've been a little distracted. That distraction has, however, given me plenty of time to play a game that I've been eagerly awaiting for years. The remake of Final Fantasy VII. I'd actually started writing a review of the original game a little over a year ago and just never got around to finishing it. If there's interest, I can put it up at some point, but for now, I'm going to give my opinion on the remake. This is going to be a little bit different from my usual videos. It's going to be less comedy-driven and more just my straight opinion of things. I'm also not using game footage. This is mostly going to be still images, largely because it makes things easier to put together in a hurry. If you guys like this style of video, let me know in the comments and I can do more like it. If not, well, I can go back to how I usually do things. Now I'm going to be going over 5 major points: visuals, gameplay, story, characters, and issues, and talking a little bit about how they compare to the original. There's also going to be some spoilers, kinda, but from the original game, so I guess be prepared for that. With that said, let's get right into it. Visuals in this game are amazing. Everything looks great, from the updated character designs to the city of Midgar itself. Everything is friggin' beautiful. The characters in the original had 2 different looks to them. Their world map sprite, which was kind of blocky and cartoony with giant eyes and exaggerated motions, and their combat/cutscene sprites, which were a more detailed rendering with human proportions. The remake, of course, kept the character designs from the original, and you can tell who's who at a glance, but just look at them. They look great. They're almost like real people. The city of Midgar is probably the most impressive update. The original never gave you a good sense of scale. You knew the place was enormous, but you never got a feeling for just how big it was. In the remake, they go to great lengths to remind you, frequently. The first time you get to the Sector 7 slums and you look up at the bottom of the plate, it's mind-boggling. The original tells you the plate is 300 meters above the slums, which calculates out to about 930 feet if you round a bit. I never really considered how high up that is until I looked at this. The remake loves to remind you what a stupid big height that is. There's a part of the game where you parachute down from the top plate into the slums, and there's another part where you have to walk around on catwalks just under the plate with a hell of a view to the lower city. The slums, instead of being tiny little self-contained maps like in the original, are sprawling towns and villages. Like, yeah, I know Midgar is supposed to be this horrible place filled with pollution and fast-tracking the death of the planet by sucking out all the Mako, which, you can see that. In between the slums, there are literal mountains of garbage. But despite all that, the sight of the city itself is just awe-inspiring. The gameplay is interesting, certainly different from the original, while at the same time keeping a lot of things the same. As far as traveling around the city of Midgar, not much has changed, though. In the original, Midgar kind of led you from one point to another on a bit of a railroad, and you didn't get to the free-roaming world exploring until you reached the world map. The remake is very much the same. Instead of having run of the entire city, you get put into different maps. The maps are huge and you have plenty of exploring to do, but if you were hoping for an open-world exploration of Midgar, you'll be a bit disappointed. Speaking of Midgar, this game only covers up to escaping from Midgar. I know some people were kind of steamed about that. For me personally, it's not so much of a problem. Even playing the original as a kid, I remember thinking that Midgar is so large and interesting they could have made a whole game about it, and it would have been awesome. Turns out, I was right. High five, 12-year-old me. Combat is friggin' glorious. It's got this great combination of real-time plus some turn-based elements. Combat works a little like Dark Souls, where you've got a light attack, a heavy attack, a guard button, and a button that lets you dodge roll. And then the turn-based elements come in when you go into your combat menu. Everything freezes to give you time to select what spell or ability you want to use, and then it resumes once you've made your choice. There are still limit breaks, of course, and they're amazing, although some of them, like Cloud's Braver, have been turned into standard combat abilities that you can use once you've built up your action point meter. Materia works the exact same way as the original, so if you remember how to use Materia from that, you'll know how to use it here. The story is, well, it's Final Fantasy VII. It hits all the same beats as the original. You blow up the Mako reactor with Avalanche, they hire you on to blow up another, you fall into the slums, you meet Aerith, you dress like a woman and seduce a slumlord, Shinra tries to crush you with a chunk of the city, Aerith is kidnapped, you break into Shinra headquarters to rescue her, and then you leave the city. It's all there! What the remake does, however, is add other stuff, like in between bombing the first reactor and the second reactor, you help Jessie break into a Shinra facility to get more blasting agent to make her second bomb. It's a really cool addition, and you get to learn a lot more about Jessie, Biggs, and Wedge. Dungeons are bigger, with more to do in them. Each area has side quests you can take on as a mercenary, And you actually get to fight the Turks instead of running from them like in the original. The characters, for me, are what really makes this a great remake. Nothing is taken away, nothing is changed. These are the same characters I knew and loved back as a kid, only now there's more to love about them. Cloud is a badass, a cold-hearted mercenary who only cares about the money. Or so he wants you to think. Deep down, he's actually a really nice guy, despite his show of bravado. The remake does a much better job of conveying that, particularly with one side quest, where kids try to hire him to take down a monster. He says he won't do it without payment, which of course upsets the kids because they don't really have that kind of money. Then he turns around and says something to the effect of, "I'm running a special, today only, monster slaying only costs 3 gil, which is basically pocket change. Barrett is Barrett, a long-winded environmentalist who kind of acts like Mr. T and gets angry at the drop of a hat. Tifa is the kind-hearted, caring, childhood best friend who gets caught up in the fight against Shinra, even though she doesn't like violence, despite being a martial artist who can punch robots to death. Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse get a lot of development, going from goofy, one-note, stereotype side characters to being fully developed, complex people that I actually like and care about, which only makes what happens suck that much more. If you've played the original, you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't play out the same exact way, but it's close enough. The best character, if you ask me, is Aerith. You see, a lot of stuff involving the character, like the movie Advent Children or the Kingdom Hearts games, have taken Aerith and made her kind of shy and quiet. They put her on this pedestal as this perfect, holy, mystical being, and it bugs the crap out of me. The remake brought back her personality from the original. She is anything but shy and quiet. She grew up in the slums and frequently has to escape from what is essentially Shinra's CIA, so she's tough and resourceful. She's also nosy, brash, and a bit conceited. Aerith is pretty and she damn well knows it, which is why offering to go on a date with Cloud in exchange for his services as a bodyguard is the first thing that jumps to her mind, and it doesn't even cross her mind that he might refuse. There's a part where she asks him to help her out with some errands, and he says it wasn't part of the deal and he'll have to charge more, so she responds with, "You're already getting an amazing reward, what more could you want?" She's also a fountain of sass, and I love it. If you get knocked out during battle, when control switches to her, she'll occasionally say something like, "Aw, and I thought you were dependable." As for being nosy and brash, she does throw herself back into danger and follow Cloud to Sector 6, just because she wants to see what he's up to. And don't forget, the plan to shove Cloud into a dress and have him seduce the Sector 6 slumlord Don Corneo is entirely Aerith's idea. Despite what we might consider flaws in her personality, she is still a very kind, compassionate person. She constantly helps out at a local orphanage, which is an addition from the remake, and she's the only person who can make flowers grow in Midgar. She's also naturally the game's best healer, with many of her abilities and limit breaks healing the party, and she gets herself captured by Shinra to ensure the safety of Barrett's daughter. All of this only makes life suck worse if you played the original and you know what's coming. Honestly, I don't have a lot of issues. It's a remake of one of my favorite games of all time, and it's done very well. I'll try and nitpick a bit, though. The remake, as I mentioned before, only covers up to the escape from Midgar. Not a huge issue for me, but it is for some. They took a 6, maybe 7 hour chunk of the game and padded it out to 35 to 40 hours. One sort of issue I had, personally, was them dropping Sephiroth on you right at the start. In the original, he's only mentioned during a flashback, and then only because Cloud idolizes him. That's all you hear until you infiltrate Shinra HQ and find the president impaled to his chair with Sephiroth's sword, and Cloud gets to have this big, "Holy crap, he's supposed to be dead" moment. In the remake, Cloud hallucinates meeting him in the streets right after the tutorial dungeon, and you are made immediately aware of the fact that Sephiroth is evil, he killed Cloud's family, and Cloud is the one who killed him. Or so he thought, because then he spends the rest of the game wondering if Sephiroth is still alive. The original handled it a bit better, honestly, building him up as this great hero that Cloud looked up to, playing hard on the fact that he's dead. Then when he does show himself, no one's quite sure what to make of it. Like, is he on our side, or what? Then Cloud has to sit everyone down and be like, "Okay, listen guys, this dude is a giant sack of bastards." Overall, I love this game. It's a huge dose of nostalgia, while at the same time being something completely new. It's such a great feeling to get to play this game again, and feel like I'm experiencing it for the first time. Hits me right in the feels. It looks great, it plays great, and they kept everything I loved about the original. It's fantastic, and I highly recommend it. I know I love it so much because of the nostalgia attached to it, but honestly, even if I had never played the original, I feel like I would love this game. Definitely play it if you get the chance. Also, play the original. Anyway, I've been Tom, and thanks for watching.